as I said in a previous video, the three legs of my anime triumvirate, I guess, are Gundam, Eva, and Macross. Um, I didn't grow up with Macross. I didn't grow up with anime at all, but I didn't grow up with anime. You know, I only got into Gundam in my early 20s, Ava shortly after that, Macross several years after that, and I've only ever been able to get my hands on Macross Plus and the original series, both in its American Robotech form and in a proper subtitled version of the Japanese, but never been able to get my hands on any more of it, because damn you, Harmony Gold, you know, just trolling on that goddamn trademark or that license, just holding on to it for dear life, because what else have they got? But yeah, it's making it really hard to be a Macross fan in North America. I know there's ways to get your hands on the shows in, you know, fan sub form, but I'm not that savvy about that sort of thing anymore. I don't have the resources that I used to get my hands on illicit entertainment material from abroad. So, you know, I'm not able to watch it. So, you know, I kind of have to be a fan from afar. But that's not to say that I can't enjoy and appreciate the mecha designs. And Bandai has been, in addition to Hasegawa, who's got the rights to do the original series, Macross Plus, I believe Macross 7, and one or two other series, Macross 0, and I think one other, in 72nd scale in non-transformable form. They can do, you know, the fighter mode, they can do Gerwalk mode, and Batroid mode, but they can't do transformable versions of those, just about any mecha from any one of those series. However, Bandai does have the rights to do models of, as far as I know, every series in transformable form. And Bandai, using their pedigree doing Gundam, and especially some of their transformable Gundam kits, like the Wing Zero or Zeta, or any of the ones from Gundam Seed, or any of the other dozens of shows that I haven't watched that I'm not that familiar with, well, they've applied that to Macross technology. And they've done one hell of a job with some of the more recent series. For example, Macross Frontier, I believe, their first foray into transforming Macross kits with the VF-25 and a couple of other mecha from that show. Now, I got my hands on a couple of VF-25 kits, as well as the VF-31 from Macross Delta several months ago, and I never got around to doing reviews of them, because just never found the time. But I did, however, assemble one of them. I did, God help me if I can remember the pilot's name, but the gray one that's kind of an homage to Skull Squadron. Gray, it once assembled and fully deckled and painted and whatnot. It's gray with yellow trim and skull markings on it. So it's designed and it's intended as an homage to Roy Foker's Skull Squadron VF-1. Now, in fighter mode, it bears a strong resemblance to the VF-1, but in every other mode, very, very different. I'm not going to transform it on camera because I haven't done that in like 3 months and I don't remember how. And it's really, really fiddly. But seriously, I think this is the most finicky model kit I've ever built, and I've built some really fiddly stuff. Like, there's so many little tiny joints and clips, and it's fully snapped together. There's no glue required, but there's metal pins and really tiny clips that are really a pain to make fit. But it makes for one hell of a model kit. It's fully transformable, perfect transformation, so no parts need to be detached. Though there's a good chance that one or two things might pop off in the process, which is always funny, going and hunting for that elusive, canopy piece or detail fairing on like the leading edge of a wing or something. It went pinging off into the distance. But it was a very fun experience, incredibly finicky. And, you know, you're doing it in sub-assemblies, and you have no idea what any of these things are because they don't resemble anything. But once it starts to come together, and you have this fully formed jet in your hand that you can then break apart and turn into a jet with arms and legs, and then further into a robot that looks like a robot, that looks like it does on the show. It's astounding. Like they're not sturdy though. That said, that if you're looking at getting one of these, be aware they are not sturdy. They are made of ABS and styrene plastic. They're not going to fall apart in your hands, but they're not as stable as they would be if they were like Bandai does a line of die cast and heavy duty plastic Macross fighters. They just did a version of the VF-31. They just announced it recently, and I believe every single store in Japan, every online retailer just sold out instantly. Just shocking how fast they sold out. Which is a bummer because I would have liked to have gotten one, even though they're, you know, $230 Canadian. But it's a neat design. The VF-31 is super, super cool. And we'll take a look at one probably tomorrow, I think, if we're on schedule. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at the sibling unit of this one. Again, I cannot remember the pilot's name, but I'll put a caption at the bottom here with it, with the specific details of this aircraft. But yeah, we're going to take a look at this one's sibling unit, the VF-25 F SuperMessiah, piloted by Alto something. Doesn't say his last name, just says Alto Custom. Whatever. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. That is not a small box. It's not one of their largest, but it is not small. 18 inches by about 14 inches by 3 inches thick, probably. And it is a very full box. Box art, you got your dramatic shot of the Batroid mode, your pilot, and then the fighter mode here with all of the armor parts attached, firing off one of those standard Macross missile spams where they fire off thousands of missiles in every direction, and so somehow every one of them hits its target. I dig this. It is a very dramatic and very attractive box art. Unfortunately, there is no call out for who did the box art, unlike the last two we looked at, so that's kind of a bummer. I'd like to give credit to this person. Sides, standard. Shows off the different modes, different features, a little bio info about the pilot and the unit, and some more info about the way that it assembles and transforms and blah blah blah. We're starting off with some mechanical stuff. Leg frames, some vents that go inside the legs, hand set. So you've got the open hands, gripping hands, and then these are the transformed mode hands. They're a little bit deformed so that they can actually fit, and they're combined together, so they actually hold the arms together once into the combined mode. Rear landing gear, nose landing gear, and wheels. Neck, collar, upper arm sleeves, cockpit, I believe. No, this might be the landing gear bay. I'm not sure. I don't recall. Army knife. Always thought that was a little strange. Vent covers for the intakes. You got your pilot upper torso, and yes, actually, this is the pilot seat. You can see those are the pilot's legs. He's been cut in half at the waist. And yes, this is the pilot Alto right here. Focus. Yeah. Looks like a pretty nicely detailed figure for the scale. Some additional venting stuff. I'm not sure what those are, but the molding is nice, and molding on these little vents here is pretty nicely fine. Gun pod parts. I've always dug the gun pods from Macross. They always kind of look like funky submarines. This one is kind of interesting the way it opens up. This armor panel hinges up, or no, this armor panel hinges down, and the whole thing kind of extends. The hand grip folds back out of the way, and then the interior of it, it's a 5-barrel Gatling mechanism. So you get your 2 barrels here, 2 barrels here. Oh no, this is the frame. You get 2 barrels here, single barrel there, and a pair of barrels there, and then your barrel opening and barrel shroud at the end. So, if I recall, I think it does spin, but don't quote me on that. But the gun pod got some nice detailing. It'll do well with a little bit of paint in these vents. Hand grip looks nice. Got some texture detail and a defined trigger. Part of your nose cone, part of the, I believe the wing leading edge, ventral detail parts, panels that open up to move out of the way for the transformation, ankle armor parts, shins, I believe, collars for the wrists, all the armor plates for the backs of the hands. So these would be for the transformed mode, and one of these each would be for the posable and the, or not posable, but the gripping and then the open hands. In addition, got your canopy and other clear parts. Doesn't look like there, I don't believe there's an option to have the canopy display to open, but you probably could with some modification. And the eyepiece sensor for the Batroid mode head. Armor parts, additional super mode parts, armor for the legs, guessing these might be for boosters, the missile racks, transformation components, I'm guessing, parts that open up and move. I think this part of the runner is from the standard version and this part is added. But they might be modified to accommodate the armor parts, because I remember this panel being part of the midsection assembly. Looks like maybe some more missiles or some sensors or something. Plug inserts probably for the intakes, the engine intakes. We got some clear purple parts. Always loved clear purple. More sensors, I guess. Some nice panel detail on these hatches. These are probably for the missile covers, but I got some nice panel detail and some riveting detail on there as well. A couple of metal pins. I'm not sure if these are for the wings or for the tail fins, but I believe each of them required a pin for structural stability because, yeah, plastic pin would not do it. Tons of mechanical stuff, lots of hinges, lots of internal joints. Hard to define. I think there might be 2 of this runner, because I think these are the arms, and then these are the shoulders, maybe? Or no, these are part of the, no, this is all part of the nose cone, the frame inside the nose cone for initial assembly of the transformation mechanisms. And then you got, this is for one of the, I think this is the wing roots. There's a metal pin that fits in here to, for, as I said, for structural stability. Feet. Not much to say. They're feet. Kind of an interesting copper brown, sort of metallic brown color. Yeah. There's some inserts that go inside to add a little bit of extra mass and help with stability. But yeah, they're very simple. Some armor parts. Sides of the legs, armors, intakes for the main engines, joint parts for the main engines, fairings, I believe, that go, these are just above the main engines, they're kind of secondary intakes, I think. Yeah, there's just so many little pieces. And they're all very small and very hard to identify. Even having built one of these before, I can't remember what everything is. Yeah, the detail looks all really great. There's a little cannon barrel, just a little point defense machine gun right there. So this would be the fairing right in front of the wing. So yeah, just a small cannon for anti-fighter defense. Got a couple more metal pins here. These I think would be for the wings. This might be for a waist assembly. I'm not sure anymore. But yeah, so that's a total of 5 metal pins that are needed for assembly of this thing. There's not a lot of large parts that come with this. I think this back plate is probably the largest one in the entire kit. Everything else is very small, like these. But we got a lot of head parts, the side cannons for the head, the side plates for the head. This would be the fairing that the head slots into, directly in front of this large armor plate. Part of the face, possibly a chin piece. Rear stabilizers, lower fins, upper fins, parts of the head, I think. Looks like there's a couple of small gun barrels right in the top there. A couple of compact machine gun parts. These parts are for the nose cone. I believe this one is for the front and this one is for the back. They slot together when the fighter comes together in fighter mode. These flank the cockpit. They're kind of part of the fairing that leads into the wings. Nose cone, wing roots, some landing gear doors. You got your open and your closed doors. Shin parts. This is also where the landing gear would retract into. So these panels, depending on which version, would either fit open or closed on there. Joint parts for the shoulders, I believe. These are where the shoulders would attach to. Ventral, I think this is right behind the nose landing gear opening. These two parts, I think, fit together to kind of fit around that. Landing gear bay for the nose. Nose cone, front landing gear doors, which very, very fiddly. They have a tendency to pop off quite a lot. Yeah, you can take a look on these wing root parts. They've got a lot of really cool etched in detail. You can make that out. If I can get it to focus. There. Yeah, some pretty cool panel lining and rivet detail on there. More mechanical stuff. You got lots of knee joints and hip joints and ankle joints and wrist joints and elbow joints and blah, 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 blah. And I believe these are the overall forearm frames. You got your feet inserts, lots and lots of joints. Yeah, lots and lots of joints. Ankle stuff, upper shin, knees. Leave more parts for the ankles. Hips, maybe. Elbows. Yeah, all very cool. All, looking very technical. Your wings. Nice looking wings. I really dig these. They're very, very thin. They're a single piece each. So you've got panel line detail on both sides. Hard points molded in for external weapons, but there are no external weapons that I'm aware of for these sets, and I don't know how they would ever attach them since they're a single piece. There'd be no way to put a poly cap or a magnet or anything. You'd have to glue them in place, and who wants to do that? Lower wing root components. These are the rear. These two parts here have come together. They form a shield in Batroid mode that attaches to the aft end of the fighter mode and kind of makes the very aft end of the rear deck between the engines. And a couple of these are these hold in the pins for the vertical stabilizers. More mechanical stuff. Big rear deck for the dorsal side of the fighter. I believe this is also part of the shield. Can't recall. More joint parts. Tons more joint parts. Display base stuff. If you want to display it in fighter mode with the landing gear down, you kind of have to cheat it and use an extra support strut because it can't hold itself up. So yeah, you kind of have to use this in the center of the fighter to hold it up. If you're displaying it in fighter mode on an action base, this slots in directly behind the nose cone, and the gun pod fits through a little opening there, and then this slots into the action base. It's a very fiddly thing to fit on an action base. I had a lot of difficulty when I first built the other one, trying to get it into an action base in Gearwalk mode, and eventually just gave up. These would probably be more new armor parts for the super mode. Guessing these might fit onto the arms, and a new action base support, I would guess. So might be a little easier now to fit it on an action base with this one. A couple of mounts probably for armor parts so that they can move around in Batroid mode. Hatches for missiles, I would guess. I think these would be for the large array of missiles that we saw earlier. These flip open, and then like the 16 or so missiles in each pod can suddenly launch out all at once. Set of polycap ball joints marked as PC7, copyright date 2002, so these are pretty old. In fact, I think the original tooling for this set of polycaps dates back to the early 90s. These would probably have been retooled for the master grade line, because by then they were up to like the 40s or so for polycap sets. So, still a very old polycap set. I got some additional armor parts for the super mode. I'm guessing this might be a new shield. This would probably fit over top of the fairing directly in front of the head. These would fit over the thighs, the intakes, the engine intakes from the looks of it. Probably some armor for the front of the thighs, I guess. It looks really neat. I like the layering of armor, you know. Like these look like they might be like a blade of armor or like Chobham armor. So they would take the hit and, you know, collapse or explode outward, rather than exploding inward and causing damage to the fighter itself. Oh, baby, that is a sexy color. That is kind of a metallic bronze almost. Sort of a light yellow gold bronzish color. And I really dig it. This is like pure molded in metallic. I really dig this a lot. This is really nice. So you get lots of detail in your engine bells there. Lots and lots of detail. Even in the smaller ones, there's some molded detail inside. Even the little tiny ones. See if you can quite... Yeah. Not as much as on the larger ones, obviously. You couldn't have that much detail on something that small, but just look at that. That is super cool. And they've even got... these would fit a ball joint inside so they could articulate and reposition a little bit. But yeah, those look super awesome. And last but not least, the fast packs. Yeah, these are definitely the largest plastic parts in the kit. Everything else is very, very small, except for, you know, a couple of other structural parts for the back of the kit. But yeah, these are very big and very sturdy. Very, very large locator pins. I think they slide over the wings, so the wings have to be in extended mode in order to fit these. In fact, there's a little spire at the leading edge of the wings. It looks like it probably fits into this little slot to lock it in place, if I had to guess. But yeah, these look really, really great. And curiously, copyright dated 2007. The box said 2009. So yeah, these are a fair bit older than I thought they were. I thought these kits came out in like 2012. Yeah, even the main part of the kit says 2008, so interesting. So yeah, I'm really eager to see how these look when they're fully assembled. We got our marking sets. We have foil-backed stickers for certain details, but the rest are done as both self-adhesive transparent backed stickers as well as water slide decals or decals, depending on your preference. I think we all know mine, and I'm not going to get into that argument again. But yeah, there's 2 complete sheets, lots and lots and lots of markings. I think this one is for the fighter, and this one is for the armor set. And finally, instructions. That is actually a really cool photo. That is a photoshopped shot of the completed model. You got your parts callouts. A lot of X's indicating parts not used in this version. A lot of X's. Assembly begins with the nose cone and the cockpit area. Very fiddly. It goes back, then does the head. You essentially build it in fighter mode. Then the arms, then the legs. Once the legs are done, then you would assemble the rest of the fuselage aft of the nose cone, and at which point you would assemble the arms and legs into it. Because once it's together, it doesn't really come apart very easily. So yeah, as you assemble it, you gradually transform it into fighter mode. Center section, always loved the center section of Bandai kits. So yeah, got lots of really dramatic photos, some bio info, some historical info about the show itself, and lots of really neat shots of the completed aircraft and model. So assembly of the standard fighter is complete, and then moving on to all the armor parts, slapping all that together. It's really something. And then the final third of the book is just the transformation guide, how to convert from fighter mode into Gerwalk mode, and then Gerwalk mode into Batroid mode. And yeah, they couldn't even get it all into there, so they had to open up an extra page. And finally, you got your paint and marking guide, which again requires 2 full pages. That's a hell of a kit.
So, Bandai's engineers never cease to impress me. I cannot get over, even having built one of these things, I'm just astounded by how many small, tiny parts go into assembling one of these things. Yeah, it's astonishing. They're so fiddly, but, there's things about them that are absolutely fantastic. There's things about them that are a little bit I'm not crazy about. I mentioned that the stability in fighter mode, they require an extra little support in the center when displaying them with the landing gear down, but I failed to mention that when they're in fighter mode, the legs, there's nowhere for them to lock into. They just kind of sag, which is a huge bummer. I mean, if there is a way to lock them in, I've never found it. There's no pegs, there's not a lot of locking mechanisms. So I'm really hoping that maybe there's just something I'm missing. Maybe once the new armor is attached on the super version, there might be some sturdier locking mechanisms. Like the forward fuselage is great. Like everything forward of the wings locks together super tight. I mean these panels, I mean if you fiddle around a little bit too much, they might tend to pop off. But the legs really sag a lot, and that's a huge bummer. But
You know, we'll see. I'm gonna probably assemble this one. God, I don't know when the hell I'm gonna do it. Sometime in the next year, hopefully. Because it'd be nice to have it alongside this one and see how they look together. But I looked it up, by the way. The pilot of this one, his name is Ozma. I'm not sure the last name. I could not find that. But this one is Alto Saotome, I believe, is the pilot's full name. But yeah, this was a really fun build. It was really, really fiddly and really nerve-wracking. But it was very exciting to see it come together. And I'm eager to build the second one with the extra armor parts and see just how different the two of them will be side by side. But yeah, so that is that. Next up, we're going to take a look at the VF-31, which is a almost brand new kit. I believe came out in 2015 or 2016. So it'll probably be even more fiddly and hopefully even more stable. Because an extra, 7-8 years of engineering advancement hopefully will have helped to increase that ship's design stability. If not, then, well, we'll find out when I find out. But yeah, it'll be neat to take a look at it. So yeah, we're going to look at that tomorrow, along with the separate add-on armor parts. We're going to do both of those as one video. And then the next day, we're going to take a look finally at the Tamiya Tomcat, which is the one I'm really eager to crack open, and it's probably the one that I'm going to take the longest to build. So, yeah. Stay tuned for that. Thank you everyone out there for watching, and happy modeling.